Today we're going to look at the 12 trendy wide receivers from week 2. This is going to help you for the waiver wire, for trades, for strategy, projecting out for your fantasy team, and everything else. We're going to look at the next gen charts from NFL.com, look at where the targets went, talk about overall the point totals for fantasy football for these players, how to value them, and what to do. But before we dig in, you need to click that subscribe button right now. We're going hot and heavy on the waiver wire for week 2, starting today, and it's ramping up. A little more tomorrow, a little bit more on Wednesday, continuing through Thursday, and then we're doing deep dives on the top trending players, the guys at the top of the waiver wire, the guys falling down the depth chart, the guys rising up the depth chart every single day, multiples per day. There'll probably be a few today, and then we use these videos to help you set your lineup. So much free help right here. Just click that button, stop missing out. But 12 trending wide receivers is what we're looking at today. And Marvin Harrison Jr. got his get-right game, and he needed a get-right game for week 2 because people were down on him last week. People were road dogging him on Twitter last week, and I get it. There were some clips that were kind of suspect, but he said, hey, watch this matchup against the Rams. I'm going to tell you good night to this one because he went off. He went off early. Got 8 targets, caught 4 of them, 130 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And I told you guys going in that the ball is going to be funneled more downfield into the outside. Him and Michael Wilson was going to get after it in this game, and Michael Wilson was a cheap dart throw. He didn't really do much, but Marvin Harrison Jr. came out to play, and he sure did, and it was early. And he shut up the naysayers from last week. And the thing is, if someone has like a sample of one game, and especially a rookie or young player, you just can't get down on that player. Honestly, the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season, you're just watching and you're hoping for the best. A guy like Marvin Harrison Jr. coming right out of the gates, pretty much week 2's right out of the gates and doing this, is sounding alarm. Big things are going to happen for his career. Marvin Harrison Jr., 4 catches, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns. Got the deep ball, got the deep touchdown, hit over 20 miles per hour on that 60-yard touchdown as well. So people were saying he was slow. And there are some inclinations that could happen because he didn't run at the combine. He was listed as slower coming out of high school, but he worked on his speed all throughout college. One of the hardest working prospects of all positions to ever really come out. This guy's a really hard worker. He looked faster as he evolved at Ohio State. He hit 20 miles per hour. He's got some speed. He's not Xavier Worthy or anything, but he can get it done. 4 catches, 130 yards. You're feeling good right now on Monday. Demarcus Robinson. And the thing about him is Puka Nacua and now Cooper Kupp are both out. We got to watch and see how long Cooper Kupp's going to be out. But also the Rams will just keep the starters out there when they're getting road dog in the game. And he's getting opportunities. Saw 4 targets, caught 2 of them for 50 yards, getting some deep targets. But he's now the guy to look at. I don't know if you really want to look at him or if you're really going to think about starting him. The Rams look like, since Puka and Cooper is out or hurt, banged up, it's going to be a rough season. It's going to be a rough year. And you may not want much of this offense. It may not be what you're thinking you're buying. But also, if you're putting together lineups and you're hurting a guy like Demarcus Robinson, who's going to be on the field, running a lot of routes, in a lot of the snaps, getting a lot of the opportunity, is a guy you may want. And he might be on waivers, but he shouldn't. A lot of people picked him up last week. Demarcus Robinson, though, a guy that's going to get workload. Malik Nabers, look at this chart. I think he's still tired. I think he's still sucking air. But I would put him in that Justin Jefferson category. He's a league-winning wide receiver. He's an elite wide receiver. He's an elite talent. 18 targets in this matchup. One of the most dominant wide receivers in the league already, and especially when it comes to workload. And he's a wide receiver that you want, and he was at a discount. Some people are drafting him in 3rd and 4th round. If you got him a little bit cheaper due to being in a home league, bravo. And a lot of people are drafting him in the 2nd round in underdog drafts, more of those sharp drafts where people are really into the rookies. Malik Nabers is a guy that should have been on the radar. The odds of this happening was looking very good in training camp, and the odds of this happening due to looking at what he did in college and the advanced metrics were very good. This is not a surprise, but now he's right up there with the Jamar Chases and Justin Jeffersons of the world. Garrett Wilson. So Justin Jefferson came out and said, hey, I'm no Garrett Wilson. I ain't getting shut down. So honestly, Garrett Wilson is a very good wide receiver, one of the better wide receivers in the league, But the thing different between him and Justin Jefferson, there's levels to this game. And Garrett Wilson is not a Justin Jefferson type of wide receiver. We saw that last week. We saw that this week. But on top of that, 6 targets, 4 catches, 57 yards. And why I'm saying that is Justin Jefferson can just go off in any matchup. Doesn't matter the quarterback play because he's playing with Sam Darnold right now. Of course, he's banged up. We went over that in the previous video. Garrett Wilson, though, is still good. He's still getting it done. 4 catches, 57 yards. So about a 10 spot there, 11 spot. He's getting you in fantasy, so you're not loving it, especially if you paid a first-round pick. He was a gamble there, and we mentioned that in the video this offseason where I went round by round and just picked out the most riskiest player in each round. He was up there. The volume of the offense, the volume of this game total, because it's against the Titans. Clock's going to run pretty quick here. Aaron Rodgers is not a fast-paced guy when it comes to operating the offense. Historically hasn't been, so you're not going to get a lot of plays ran. Garrett Wilson is going to have his moments this year. He's getting a lot of target share. He's getting a lot of opportunity. So Garrett Wilson is going to get you fantasy production, but there's also going to be games where he gets you a 10 spot here and there in these slower volume matchups, but you're still going to roll him out as a starter. Jaxon Smith-Njigba had himself a day. Running out of slot, running downfield. This is what people wanted last year. But remember last year, he started the season off hurt, and he had a ramp up, and the team just rolled with what they were working with when it comes to functionalities and schemes and concepts, and then worked them in throughout the season. He was healthy now through training camp. He was more involved, and now they can apply him more. And now he's another year into the system. The year prior at Ohio State, he was hurt. He only played like a handful of games, if that, maybe one, if I remember right, and he was hurt. He was out. So Jaxon Smith-Njigba had to get the rust off, had to get back up, and then he got hurt. And now look at him, 16 targets, 117 yards. Last year, he flashed. He caught 60-some balls, 600 yards as a rookie. And if you got a rookie wide receiver doing that, you're going to look at him for the second year and be like, he's very interesting. He was in the middle rounds, getting volume. So games here where Seattle has to throw, you're looking at Jaxon Smith-Njigba. But we were not predicting Seattle having to throw it against the Patriots. We were expecting it to be a slower volume game. But the Patriots are locked down against the run. So looking at the Patriots going forward, as we get a larger sample, they might be more pass funnel where teams may want to look to pass on them. And other teams are going to look at this matchup because what DK Metcalf also did, he went off, and teams might pass more on the Patriots. Again, we talk strategies more than just the players here. DK Metcalf went off, a couple deep balls, getting deep targets. Also worked over the middle, too, on some mesh routes, on the crossers, trying to get the yards after the catch with that speed and that size. But again, DK Metcalf getting after it. But a trend here is teams might start throwing it on the Patriots because they're locked down against the run. They might be a pass funnel defense that we're looking at every week. Brian Thomas Jr., not much in volume, nasty matchup, but we got it deep. And that's what we were hoping for Brian Thomas Jr. He got you by, and we were hoping for that deep target, and he was a gamble. He's still a gamble. He still didn't really score enough to really help you, but he got you by with that deep target. And that's what Brian Thomas says. He's going to have some moments where he goes off for over 20 fantasy points. He's going to have some moments in some games where those deep targets get overthrown. And it's going to be a gamble, but it's going to be a beautiful one in the right matchups. Chris Godwin went off, and he was a guy that we were looking at, and he was a guy that we were pushing up against some of those elite wide receivers in this matchup. Him and Mike Evans. Mike Evans didn't hit. Chris Godwin didn't, but this was a great matchup for that. Baker Mayfield did not go off against the Lions, and I was tepid on that. I also said that you may want to go with it anyways because of the projected point total. They hit the under, and then Mayfield actually did not hit 200 yards passing. In years previously against the Lions, he's around 250-ish yards. So a little bit lower there, but Mayfield did get some rushing production if I remember right. But we're talking about Chris Godwin here. 8 targets, 7 receptions, 117 yards, and 1 touchdown. He's going to get work, and he's going to get a lot of work since he's getting a lot of work out of the slot. And we said that in the offseason. They were projecting him to be in the slot more, and we were saying, hey, maybe about 70 to 75% of his snaps out of the slot like it was previously, and you got McMillian over on the outside, and I did say Million in there, but Chris Godwin, though, his value's on the upswing. You're loving it right now. Shaheed. This looks like Brian Thomas Jr. Look at the depth there. Look at the chart. That looks like Brian Thomas Jr. And the thing about this, he scores in a similar facet. He may not be as consistent over the long haul, but he's a guy that you're going to pluck off the waivers and pray to God that deep target hits. Because if that deep target hits, he's going to win that week for you. If you're hurting on the waiver wire later on down this season, say it's around Halloween time, Thanksgiving, he's sitting there on waivers. He just went on a cold streak. You may want to pluck him up, see what happens, because the Saints are moving the football. They're pushing it downfield. They're not afraid to fire it down there. And Shaheed could blow up in any given moment. We said that last year. Those are the type of players you may want to look at off the waiver wire. Say he has a bad game and he only scores you 4 fantasy points. Guess what? That's only like 5 points away from the other waiver wire wide receivers who performed okay. Look at it that way, but you also got this immense upside. He cashed 2 games back to back. That is rare for him. Usually it's like cash out, missed about 4 games, cash out, missed about 4 games, cash out. He hits on about every 4 or 5 games. That was the run last year. Maybe we're going to hit more this year, but those deep targets you're praying for. Quentin Johnston is coming back because everybody was high on him out of the gate for his rookie season, first round wide receiver, and we had him as a sleeper going into the week because he was second on the team in routes ran among wide receivers last week, and he's getting workload, he's getting opportunity. Palmer was banged up coming into the game. Going forward, that could be the difference maker for his volume. On top of that, the Chargers are probably going to be in some slower game scripts due to them wanting to run the football, but he's going to get those deep targets down by the boundary. That's where he excels at. And Herbert's getting very good at targeting him. And if he's open, if he's getting to the ball, if he's getting more confident, he's going to rack up some good games. And he may have some more games where he scores touchdowns for you. And he might get more deeper targets. He's a good guy to have at the end of your bench because those upside games could be there. Calvin Ridley is going to do this. He's going to have these games where he sucks, and he's going to have these games where he's one of the best wide receivers in fantasy football. He's going to get a good target share, and he's going to get those deep balls. He's going to get a couple deep balls a game, maybe even 3 or 4 of them, and if he brings in 1 or 2, it's game over. He's going to win your week. But there's also going to be games where Levis is going to suck, and they're not going to be able to connect downfield. He might catch and rack up a few shorties, but those deep balls are really going to hammer it home for him. We saw that last year in Jacksonville. He had like 5 or 6 wide receiver 1 weeks and a lot of sucky weeks. That's what it looked like with Calvin Ridley, and it looks like that's what we might get with Calvin Ridley. We're already starting to trend that way with him, but if you like that, that's something you want. If you do not want that and you feel like you're going to start him on the wrong days, you may want to sell him and trade him away if he racks up a few good games. Davante Adams is getting the volume. He's still there. He's still a good wide receiver. It might be up and down this season due to the quarterback play and the weirdness of the Raiders. They also had a matchup here where they had to throw the ball. They had to get it out quick because you're not going to run all over the Ravens. And they got it to Davante Adams. Maybe they're going to smarten up, pepper him with targets, and he comes out with an elite target share, elite air yards week to week like he was last year, and is fantasy relevant every single week, being productive for your fantasy team. But those are the trending wide receivers. A couple guys to look at off the waiver wire, a couple guys to trade for, a couple guys to strategize around, a couple guys to fill up that confirmation bias. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. One thing for watching. Catch you on the next video.